Hello, hello.
Hello and welcome. Whoa. What was that?
Well, I'm doing the intro. Welcome,
Go
welcome,
for
welcome.
it.
This is the NS9 postgame show. Pirates defeat the first place Brewers 5-4. It was a much needed win considering some of the news we got today, and it was a good one. Cody, your thoughts?
One of the more thrilling day games that we get to cover this year, or not cover, we're fans. We don't cover things. Well, you
I
cover things. You cover things. I don't cover things. One of the better day games I got to watch this year. I know I've been on most of the day game post games, and this one it was fun to watch. Tuning in at the beginning though, I didn't catch first two innings, so I just saw 3-0. I was like, it's gonna be a one that you gotta pull up your bootstraps and just get through it. But this team, they brought it together after the unfortunate start by Selby. The bullpen brings it together. You know, the opener thing. We'll get into it, but it was a really good game. Really good game by the Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've felt that they've been playing, not even just a little, but a lot above their heads of late. But that doesn't change the fact that the results have been good. Taking 2 of 3 from the best team in the division and one of the hotter teams in baseball is good.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good result. It's a better result than sweeping the hopeless Royals or the last place Cardinals. It's a little more tangible when you do it against a team that's actually good.
Right. You almost want to compare this last month to the beginning of the season. I know the record's not the same.
I wouldn't go quite that far because
I'm feeling pretty confident in these Buckos. I don't know about you.
I mean, not to burst your bubbles, but I'm a big believer in how you get there matters just as much as where you end up. And to be honest, while they are putting up good results, they're needing performances from Josh Palacios, who is almost certainly not going to be on Pirates rosters for the foreseeable future. They're needing good performances from players like that to win games. And
so
it's
you
cool
think.
that they're
you think.
It's cool that they're winning games, but they're not doing it with the players you would like to see performing.
Right.
At least not all of the players you would like to see performing. There are some. There are some.
Right. So let's get into today's game. As we mentioned before, they did their opener strategy again, opening with Colin Selby. Rough first inning for him. He only got through 1 inning, gives up 3 runs, only has 2 strikeouts. He gave up a home run too. I don't know. I didn't watch. Obviously, I said that. I don't know if it was 1 3-run home run. Yeah, no, it was 1 3-run.
It was. He hung a slider to Adames.
Yeah, I got that update on my phone, and I was like, oh, okay. So that's how it's going to go. But then Bailey Falter comes in, and it makes me think. I was looking at Falter's stats the last couple of times. He came in the second spot in the opener situation. He does very well in those spots.
He does. I think, they targeted him and Thomas Hatch around the deadline because they have really good extension. It makes, obviously that makes their velocity play higher than it does. They don't have incredible stuff, and they have to locate to be effective. But so far, Falter has been effective. Now, the caveat to that is that Falter has worked in shorter, bursts per outing than, a typical starter would. He's gone 6 innings at times, but today it was 3.1, 3.2?
3.2 for him with 3 strikeouts.
3.2. How many pitches? I don't recall.
Pitches. He had 44 pitches.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's working in shorter bursts. So I don't think anybody is under the illusion that he is a good starter, but at least he has been effective in the role that they have him in.
Yeah.
What I can't say the same for is the openers that they have been employing, because an opener, in theory, when you have a bulk guy, is a fine solution to work with what you've got. And what the Pirates have is only 2 or 2.5 real starting pitchers on the roster right now.
Right.
But if you're using openers, they have to be effective pitchers to make good use of them. And the ones they've been employing are Rob Zastryzny, who has since been DFA'd, and guys like Colin Selby, who has absolutely no idea where it's going.
Right.
He has the stuff, but
today it works out for Selby. You know, obviously he doesn't get a decision. He only pitched 1 inning. But, you know, they were talking about it on the broadcast today, how your opener guy needs to be like, you know, keep everything under control for at least 3 innings, or at least 2 innings, I'd say. Keep it under control so that your long reliever can come in and keep everything also under control, but he gets a little leeway. And today it seemed like the opposite happened. You have Selby give up 3 runs in the first inning, and then Falter comes in, and I've liked what I've seen from Falter so far this season. When in these spots, only gives up 1 hit, 3 strikeouts, 3.2 innings. If you were watching the game, you saw like, okay, he was missing his spots a little bit. It was a good time to pull him out of the game. He struck out the guy and thought it was the 3rd out of the inning and started walking to the dugout. So it was like, okay, we're gonna take you out anyway, but there's still an out we got to get. So anyway, that was kind of funny that happened in the game. But yeah, it was a great time to take him out. You would love to see him get a little more work, maybe 4 innings, 4.2, 4.1. But in that spot as the long reliever, he got the job done today, and then Bolton comes in and also got the job done. Like all those guys that came in afterwards. Now I hate looking at a box score like this where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pitchers pitching in one game.
right.
You would think if that happened, something terrible had happened. But in reality,
you're just looking at a normal box score down the stretch for the 2023 Pirates. That's what
and that's our reality today.
Yeah.
And it works out. Nobody else gave up any runs. Holderman came up. He gave up 3 hits, which was rough.
He gave up a run.
He gave up a run, which I missed somehow.
He's looked great recently.
I like Holderman for the foreseeable future for sure.
Yeah, a little shakier today, but his ERA was up in the 4s at one point, and it's a little harder for relievers to, well, maybe not a little harder for relievers, but with how inconsistent he was earlier in the year, he's had a nice run recently. I think it was down below 3 before he came into this one, correct?
Yeah, I think so. And after the game, it's 3.06. So
okay,
I would assume it was under.
Again with Selby, I don't see why he would be good at that role, considering the kind of pitcher that he is.
I agree.
It doesn't seem like the right role for him, although I also don't think a major league role is the right role for him.
Right. He's one of those September call-ups, you know. You hear hear the sirens.
Yeah, well, that's the September call-ups coming.
Exactly.
I mean, every pitcher in the majors has at least decent stuff, right?
Yeah.
Colin Selby has some pretty good stuff, but you're not going to be anybody with staying power at this level if you can't command it effectively. Right. And he walked 6.35 per 9 at AAA. He is the definition of a thrower.
Yeah, and I want to end our pitching discussion for today with Bednar. Bednar comes in, he lets up 1 hit, but he gets 2 strikeouts to get us out of it. But I don't know. I've had this feeling with Bednar recently where it's like he'll get us in a spot where it's like, what are we doing? You know, like let's just get out of here, man. Don't get anybody on.
He certainly hasn't
don't go up 3-0 in account.
He certainly hasn't been the same dominant pitcher that he was in the first half. He's still gotten, I don't know, Nicholas. It's
no clue.
Completely confusing. It doesn't make any sense. It is held
together somehow.
It is held together by duct tape and prayers. But yeah, Bednar, he hasn't really been that same dominant reliever that we saw from him in the first half. Because those first couple of months, he was legitimately putting up an Eric Gagne type line. Mm-hmm. You know, he was not walking anybody. He was striking out an absurd amount. We haven't really seen that. Recently. And it's, you know, and we've seen some second half regression from him in past seasons. So I do wonder how much of it is fatigue And my tinfoil hat theory is that these guys thrive in the highest stakes environment possible, and this is just about the lowest possible stakes you can get. And unless you want to go pitch for the Royals or the A's, stakes don't get much lower than this.
Right, I agree with that standpoint. Like, when you're
That's
preparing
my
for a
tinfoil
game,
hat.
as a guy who, like you said, you're getting ready for the highest stakes situations, and you're a closer for the Pirates, who are 10 games below 500. I mean, the only thing you really have to hype yourself up for this game is for this spot in the ninth, is that you're going for a series win against the top team in the division, and you're going for the win of the series. You're going to take 2 out of 3. That's the only thing that's hyping you up here late in August. Now we're in September. So it's like, when it's not like, okay, we need this game to get another notch in the win column to get us to the top of the division, it's hard to get yourself ready for that. And I think Bednar is one of those guys where he likes those high pressure situations. Like you said,
right?
Just not
and
there today.
I wouldn't put that much faith in it, because it is completely crackpot. It is completely tinfoil hat, and I will fully admit that. But I mean that these guys are professional athletes, and part of professional athletes is the mental skills side of things. Like I mean, I talked about this when I did the prospect show after I got back from Altoona. At Greensboro, like half of their coaching staff is mental skills coaches. So I don't doubt that Bednar is well prepared, or that he is, not into it. That's not what I'm saying. God damn it, Doug. Let's just end it with that.
Well, I wanted before we move on to the offense today, I wanted to talk about this. Stakes are not low for the Brewers. Totally disagree. Bednar plays for the Pirates. So the stakes are low for Bednar. They're not like that, but that, I guess, could be another thing that he's like, oh, I could mess up the groove of the Brewers.
Well, that's what you always hear with the Pirates around this time of year. Is, well, they have a really good opportunity to play spoiler, and
right.
They very rarely do.
This year they are.
This year they are.
That's all they do, is cause chaos late in the season that does nothing for them in terms of getting a playoff spot.
Yeah, but there we go. Sean Hooper's got it right. He's big boned.
There you go. Big boned. We're all a little big boned. I know
we're all a little big boned. Yeah.
So let's move on to the offense. Hayes just continues to be on a tear. He gets his second home run in 3 games. I know that was the big stat that people were talking about on Twitter once he hit that home run. Compared to his other home runs, it was a little short. It was only 385. He hit like 99 miles per hour. I just know he can do better. I've seen it, so I want it.
What are you expecting, O'Neal Cruz?
He hit one. Last week? It was like 426.
Yeah, 424. I think that was the number. And he hit one early in the year in St. Louis that was, I think it went, because St. Louis is pretty cavernous to left field.
Yeah.
And he hit it to left center, and it didn't, clear the fence by all that much. And it was like 440.
When you look at StatCast, it was 440, and I was like, whoa. But
that was back in April. That was in that April series that they split with the Cardinals. But I mean, the power is in there, and it's just watching him hit the past month, and really his line since the start of June. I know in June he did have, a little bit of struggles, and it wasn't the version of him that we've seen in August, but he did put up a good line in June. But the version of him that we've seen since the start of August is just unbelievable. He's so consistent. He's hitting the ball. I mean, he's always hit the ball hard, but he's hitting the ball harder than ever. He's pulling the ball more. He's elevated it better than he has ever, pretty much all year. But now he's doing it consistently, and he's combining all 3 of these things where he's elevating, pulling it, and hitting it hard. And it's just, it's all clicking for him right now. And it's combined with because he's always had really good bat to ball skills too. The makings of a guy who is going to be a star player were always there. We saw that in the first month he was here. It's just been a matter of finding that. And he has absolutely found that again.
Right. And I know amongst all of us, we've been talking about like it feels like he's finally breaking that mold or whatever it was that he was just not where he was, like you said, where he was when he came up. And now it seems like he's a legitimate threat at third base in the major leagues. And today, not only getting the home run, but also getting walks and then scoring. So he scored 2 runs today, which is more than anybody else on the roster today. So to just be able to get on base and get around the bases from that standpoint, hell of a job by Hayes today.
If Hayes, this version of Keep Ryan Hayes is legitimately an MVP candidate. Obviously not this year, but if he puts up a full season of this, he's going to get MVP votes.
Right.
It's inevitable that if he performs this way for a full season, that he will, because that's a 6 to 7 WAR player. Yeah. It legitimately is.
Absolutely.
And it kind of as much crap as we give this rebuild, it does kind of change the dynamic a little bit from we're totally screwed to hey, we might not be.
Right. And then we hop up to the 6th inning where we get some more scoring going from 2 people that are basically the same person, just one is like a little more eccentric than the other. First, you have Jack Sawinski gets a double and he scores, or he hits in Brian Hayes and he hit in Reynolds. I'm sorry, I'm like all over the place. Hit in Reynolds, Brian Hayes went to third, so that's an RBI for Jack Sawinski, something we don't see every day, which we should at this point in his career. And then Josh Palacios comes up and he scores Hayes. So 2 guys who have played very similarly.
I wouldn't say they've played similarly. They're like yin and yang.
I mean, their stats are pretty much the same. How is that yin and yang? I feel like yin and yang in there.
What is Palacios? Is Palacios' OPS over 640 now?
I couldn't tell you. I take it game by game.
Yeah, because I don't think it is. It might be, but it yeah, Josh Palacios.
But anyway, yeah, those guys come in.
It's 648.
Right. So 2 guys that have been playing similarly as of late, just one coming up a little more clutch than the other in most situations. They score us 2 runs to tie it in the 6th.
Oh, you mean recently? Yeah, okay. They've been.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
They've been equal amounts of. I thought you meant like on the full season.
No.
The final line has both been equal amounts of terrible for both of them, but the difference is that Palacios is just an enigma where he seems to consistently come up big in situations that matter.
Right. And then we just continue the scoring for the Pirates. Going to the 7th, Ji-hwan Bae gets a triple where he didn't trip over second, but he wasn't sure if he'd get the third. So it was just like a weird thing. He rounded the base. Third base coach was more worried about getting the run home. And then he looked at Bae and was like, yeah, you're down. You're here. It was a wild situation on Bae's triple. But delay scores off of that. That gives us the lead, and we would keep the lead from there. And then everyone's favorite call-up of the September call-ups, Miguel Andujar scores another RBI for us. So that puts us in the position of we're in the driver's seat. We're winning. Pirates give up one more run, and then as we already discussed, Bednar shut the door. It was a little squeaky, but he shut the door.
I don't know, man. I consistently see those base running awkward moments from Bae. He got thrown out, caught stealing yesterday when he should have been. It looked like he was safe by a mile, but because he didn't get his foot down, he was out. I mean, and today in the first, he made a pretty large mental mistake when he threw to third on the it was a fly ball hit to him. It was a deep fly ball. I forget who it was by. It was by the batter before Adames, I think. But anyways, he threw to third, and that allowed the runner to move to second. Now, ultimately, it didn't matter because Adames hit a 3-run homer.
Yeah.
But it's the little fundamental things with Bae that we consistently see him mess up on, and it doesn't feel like he's getting actually any better at them.
Right, and that's what's worrisome with him is like, it's like at some point you got to figure it out, man. I mean, I know the off season's coming. He's going to have time to consistently work on these things day in and day out. He's going to have that opportunity. It's just a matter of seeing the result when we go into spring training.
The other thing is that he's had years to work on these things. These are basic fundamental tenets of the game. And for a player like him, whose offensive ceiling, is perhaps a little more limited than somebody else's, he has to be good at those things to utilize his tool set.
Mm-hmm.
Those are fundamental things that he has to consistently be able to do. That's the other thing. That's the other side of this. Bay is just the most glaring example of a problem with Pirates development. Just the players that come up for the Pirates, they don't know how to slide. They don't know what base to throw to. They don't know how many outs there are. They don't know how to step on first base.
Yeah.
It's just Bay is the most glaring and consistent example of that. And it's shown they've been less aggressive with him on the base paths because he was getting thrown out so much and getting picked off so much because he couldn't read pitchers.
Yeah, and when you look at the base situation on the base path from face value, it really seems like it was, all through the minors was, oh, you're so fast, you do whatever you want out there. You're so fast you can make up for a mistake. That's not how it works in the major leagues. You're not going to get the benefit of the doubt on a mistake on the base path because there's too many players out there on a daily basis that have been playing for their entire lives at a high level that are going to know how to get you out if you trip up over second base. So
it's
today
like,
he gets lucky getting safe into third, but it's something he needs to work on.
It's like what we talked about with Colin Selby, right? Where Colin Selby has very good stuff. He was striking out 12 per 9, over 12 per 9 in the, I think it was almost 13. It was a pretty ridiculous stat for a professional pitcher to be striking out 13 pitchers per 9 innings. The problem is he's not really a pitcher. It's the same thing where that kind of stuff will work against inferior competition, but it's not going to work here.
Yeah, and before we move on, I want to talk about this. Bay is a wacky player. Some things he does is like Little League, but then he has the talent to overcome. We saw this early in the season. It's just plain and simple. He's just a raw talent that the Pirates haven't seemed to be able to mold. He's just so raw that for some reason, they haven't been able to stick it in his head, the fundamentals. We saw it when he played center field in Boston. That's the one that sticks in my head the most. He makes a ridiculous play, but it's because he had a bad jump on the ball.
And that's been the theme with most of the ridiculous catches that he's made, is most of them come as a result of not getting a good jump, not getting a good read, or taking a bad route.
Right. And we see the same thing with other guys they put out there, like Henry Davis. Henry Davis has bad routes to balls, so it makes him look bad in the outfield. It's just learning that at a high level while also just not having the coaching staff. It's a speculation, but not having this coaching staff that is able to teach that to you at such a high level. That's where we see the problem. But from talking about bad defense, I want to talk about some good defense that happened today. The Pirates infield is just ridiculously talented. You had a diving catch by Alika Williams earlier in the game. I want to say it was like the third or fourth inning.
The ridiculous play. They're talented defensively for the first time all season because they have employed some less than palatable options since O'Neal Cruz went down. Marcano was terrible there. Rodolfo was terrible there. Owens was the only one who showed any adequacy there at shortstop. But he was so abysmal of a hitter that it was unpalatable even for the Pirates to continue.
But I would give the Pirates the benefit of the doubt for the fact that since they had brought Triolo up, not today, but in the past, since he first came up to now, they have made it a priority to have good defense in the infield because Triolo's that guy. He's he replaced Cabrian. He was very good defensively. Now you have Alika Williams, who nobody really knew about. He was tearing it up in AAA offensively, but nobody really knew too much about his glove, I think. Then he comes up and he's making great plays at shortstop.
It was
his
glove was highly touted.
Right, but I mean, me as a guy who just looks at the box scores of of AAA games, I was seeing that he was hitting the ball too. So I was like, "Oh, this is interesting. Let's see what he can do." And then you have Peggy. Just I love Peggy. I got to talk to Peggy when we were in spring training. Just a cool dude, great guy. Loves playing baseball. He makes another ridiculous play
He's
at
such an
second base
electric
today.
personality.
He is, and he makes such an amazing play today at second base. Catches the ball at his face while he's going to the ground and gets the out at first. I just the offense I saw from or the defense I saw from this team in the infield today, just great job.
They're not
just make like to be that good on defense, like everybody else compared to Brian Hayes, like to be just as good, like on the same level it seemed today. That's just I want to see that consistently.
I mean, yeah, you do. And I mean, Peguero's another guy who the talent is absolutely there. He struggled with, some mental issues with throwing in the minors. It's a large part of what those, nearly 40 errors he put up a few years ago was. And it still is a little rough, particularly at short. Not that he doesn't have the athletic ability there, but it is just, again, a little raw. But he's displayed now multiple times that he is not lacking in the athletic ability to make some great plays happen.
Right.
And Alika Williams is just a solid fundamental defender.
Exactly.
Not to loop back into this conversation, but it's not a coincidence that he is good fundamentally when he wasn't developed by the Pirates mostly.
Right.
Now, that's not getting into the fact that he is a completely unplayable hitter, but defensively,
got a single today. He had a nice hit today. Got on base.
He's good for that every few days. Good for a hit every few days.
I'll take it. You make good plays on defense, get on base every other day. I'll take it.
No, he's a negative WAR player by like a lot.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying if I see him get on base, I'll be like, hey, that guy, he's all right. But no, definitely not a guy we want to have on the major league roster next year. I think second base. I mean, this is my dream middle infield is O'Neal Cruz and Liover Peguero. That's the dream infield right now as a Pirates fan. I think that's what we'll end up with.
I think Triolo backing up a couple of the different infield positions I think that's his role. I really do. I mean, not to get too far into this, but I never understood why he was sent down when he was playing so well.
Mm-hmm.
And he was sent down and they started giving time and opportunity to guys who have performed, substantially worse in Williams and, Vinny Capra and even Bay getting time in the infield. Peguero's the only one that's really, offensively since that date done anything in the infield other than Hayes.
Right.
Even Alfonso Rivas, even the first baseman is just not producing.
Right.
So it didn't make sense to me that he got sent down in the first place, and I'm glad to see him back because he was. I don't think he's a 3-WAR player. I'm not going to go that far, but he performed at a 3-WAR pace while he was here.
And he was just
hitting,
flat out serviceable.
He's adequate. He is solid fundamentally at the game of baseball. He looks the part. He was hitting 270 and getting on base at a 350 clip. I really don't care what his slugging is.
Right.
You do that with the defense that's second only to Hayes.
Right.
And you're going to be a net positive player.
Right. Well, I think we've talked about everything we could talk about with this game today. It was a great game since, we got on this tangent about other guys that aren't even on the team right now or that just got called up. So any more thoughts on today's game before we head out?
I think they really needed this as a group today, especially with the news to McCutchen, which that totally blows. And it's, of course, mentioning Triolo, it is the reason why they called up Triolo was because McCutchen's season is, of course, over. Sitting at 299 just sucks for him. And I don't know about you, but it's seeing how often everybody insisted that he was healthy this year,
Right.
and that he consistently told people, people were
I'm
being
fine.
told that the off days were normal and just part of the everyday routine for him. I wonder how much he's been dealing with this year, because headed into July, I don't think it's really mentioned how good he was up to that point, because he was a 133 WRC hitter going into July. That's really, really good.
Yeah.
Like, really good. And it's incredible. It's an incredible rebound for him. But then in late June, he goes down on that elbow that's just been hurt all season long. And McCutcheon's not a guy that shows pain a lot.
Right.
And when he went down on that elbow, he was down on the ground for a while.
Well, even last night.
He was in pretty severe pain. And
Right.
then, they put him on the 10-day IL. He missed the minimum amount of days, or I think a little more than that. And he went, I'm fine. And then
Right.
all of July, it was so obviously bothering him. And
Yeah.
he was just having so much trouble catching up to the fastball, which is completely unlike him.
Right.
So I wonder how many more injuries he's dealt with this year.
Right. And even last night when the Achilles the partial tear happened, he's not the guy to go out there and like test something out. You could see he was walking towards third base, kind of testing it out. He was like, what is that? He's like, you don't really see that from a guy like Kutch. Like you said, he keeps all that in. So
we know
all
him.
this does is set up, opening day 2024. He's gonna hit like a 3-run shot and get 300. That's all that's gonna happen.
We know
re-sign
Kutch.
him at the vet min.
This was the same guy who did not flinch after being hit with an Aroldis Chapman fastball at 103
by the head.
Yeah, by the head, up and in, at the shoulder blades. When he was hit in the back, square in the back, with a 97-mile-an-hour fastball in Arizona, he went down, but he didn't miss much time. And there were times there where I was pretty convinced he was wearing some sort of back wrap or some sort of brace there. And he has that energy. He has that mindset. I am going to play through this. I am fine. I can manage this pain level. And I just, moving forward at his age, and I appreciate that energy, but maybe don't do that for the 2023 Pirates.
Right.
Well,
anyway, it seems
when
like
he's been healthy,
when
he's been healthy, the bat speed is there. I'm not concerned.
Right. So I think that'll do it for us today. Looking forward, I think they're doing the big three, DiNardo, Jim, and Tyler. I think they're going with a NS9 live tonight instead of tomorrow. And I believe they'll talk about the Kutch stuff, obviously. They'll talk about some other news that came out today that Bubba Chandler is going to AA, making his debut on Friday, and that'll be his final start of this year's campaign. So I'm sure they'll talk about that as well. But yeah, look forward to that tonight, probably around 9:00-ish as usual. So that's tonight's NS9 Live. And
I was hoping to get credentials for that. I didn't think he would make his debut this year.
Yeah, they announced that today.
I missed that
probably
entirely.
to make up for the Skeens news, right?
Well, he's been good, man. Recently, I know he's had a bit of a rough go of it this season, but the stuff is just so electric with him.
Yeah, he's been solid.
I've talked about this a bunch, but if he gets even an iota of feel for pitching, he's going to be good.
Right, exactly. I'm with you. So just going forward, everybody follow us everywhere. We're everywhere. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. I run the Instagram mostly.
Look under your table. We're there.
Exactly.
Look in your,
I'm right there.
You check your pantry for paper plates or something. We're there. We're there. Cody is in your walls. DiNardo is living in your basement. Jim is sleeping in your attic. We are there. We are everywhere.
But yeah, last night we had Jim went to the Greensboro game.
He did. I saw
he did
that.
a takeover on Instagram and Facebook. Great job by Jim. He had Tamar Johnson repost one of his stories that he put up. We're doing big things on Instagram, so make sure you're following us there. Obviously Twitter. Join the Discord and subscribe here. But you don't need me to tell you that. I'll let Jim's stupid face tell you.
Yep. Peace.
Have a good one.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.